Welcome to Three Men and a Movie. We're mic'd up and we're psyched up. This week we're going to discuss Roman J. Israel, Esquire. He was very particular about the Esquire.
Yeah, the Esquire is important.
It is important. So let me start over here, Byron. What did you think?
Give us your rating first.
I honestly say wait for it, but not because it was a bad movie. It was a great movie. It was a really great movie, but that's one of those movies I think I want to be like curled up at home and watching it. This at home because it's no wham bam special effects.
Yeah,
that I need movie quality for or big screen to see everything. It's just like a real intellectual like kind of movie you have to think about and stuff like that. And so I was like,
I think the real reason he wants to wait for it is because it was like. There was like 4 of us in the theater, so it almost felt like a date with me and Byron.
Yeah, that could have played
He's
a
like,
small
I should
part.
be at home.
Honestly, though, when I stepped in and I saw like, hey, there's nobody in this theater, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Because when it's packed, usually is one of those blockbuster films that like everybody just goes because there's a name attached or whatever. Mm. But when you've got a selected group and they're usually like a little older, that tells you like, oh, this is gonna be a good film, at least for me.
Yeah, no, but I like the film though. It was a really good film. Denzel did it real good. Even Colin Farrell, his part being the super lord, having those conglomerate of different offices, like it was good and stuff. But I like the movie, but I think those are one of those movies I'm like I want to be at home, eat my own popcorn at home. Yeah, nice. It's winter now, or going on winter. It's very cold now.
It's 70 degrees now as opposed to 90. Hey.
You didn't want to snuggle with me at the theater? Is that what I'm getting
I fucking skipped the scene. It's your fault.
Well, at first I was sitting like this, and I'm like, why am I so close to you? All the theater's empty. So I moved over, put both arms down, put a leg up.
Give us your rating.
Pay for it. I don't know. I think it was fantastic. I thought it was based on a true story, but it wasn't.
You mean Denzel didn't go through this early on?
I guess not, but it was one of those really enjoyable movies where at the end, where he's sitting there through the whole where he's going through moral dilemmas and he's sitting there, like questioning everything he's believed and everything he's worked hard for his whole life, and you're just sitting there kind of in suspense, wondering how it's going to go, how it's going to end, and it was very well done. Denzel and Colin played off of each other very well, and I liked it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say pay for it too. I really enjoyed it. It's a Denzel movie, so there's a certain level of quality we've come to expect of his films.
He was robbed from fences. Anyways, that's another story.
Well, bringing old school stuff, man. He's trying to move on. We're trying to move on. But he did a really good job with his portrayal of Roman J. Israel Esquire.
And he was so committed, Denzel I'm referring to the role and to the certain look of Roman J. Israel that he's had a gap in between his front teeth his whole life that's been fixed, and he unfixed it to give us that gap-toothed look with the fro that just kind of.
He was like in the 70s, pretty much. Even when he was dated and everything, in a movie, it changes and goes back, but. Yeah, so it was really cool. It was really cool.
In looking at a title, usually the title gives you some sort of insight into what the film's going to be about. And his character, Roman, was sort of a throwback to maybe like the 70s, maybe a late 60s civil rights movement. The Esquire part at the end of your name, if you're involved with law, says that you're sort of like a lawyer's apprentice or that you're involved with the law. And the squire part is sort of like the knight's apprentice. So everything is sort of throwing back into a historical sense, which is kind of what his character was. He was a throwback to another time where people really fought for moral purpose and justice, and he was kind of taken out of that.
He was stuck
era,
I think he was,
and put into present time where he didn't fit.
Because he was behind the scenes mostly, so he stayed in his lane pretty much, while everything else evolved around him. So when he came out, he was like, he still had the same principles, and law is law, but like on other people's, in our eyes, in this modern time, it doesn't make sense in certain ways. So.
I think he had been behind the scenes so long that he was so by the book, like this is the way it should be ruled, and this is the way it should happen, that he couldn't handle real life situations and real life judges not seeing the book the way he saw the book.
It's a fish out of water story. even though, I mean, he's living in modern society, he's not quite in the forefront of it all. So when it's his turn to be, you know, at the head, at the top, he doesn't know what to do with it. And that struggle within, because obviously he goes through an evolution, right?
Yeah.
And he changes, and then he becomes someone who he's not completely happy with, and goes back, but in that same process, without revealing too much of the plot, because we're really recommending it. I think whether you see it at home, stream it, or go watch it, it's a great film, and we don't want to ruin that, because there is quite a payoff at the end, right?
And if you like lots of arm room and leg room, this is the movie.
Yeah, if you want to put your cup in somebody else's holder, this is the movie.
Go see it Tuesday at Cinemark. It's $6.25. It's a great deal.
Yeah, but it's great film. There's some tense moments in the film where you're really afraid for his character. What's going to happen to him? You know, what's going to be the outcome? Because you're rooting for him. You get a movie like Roman J. Israel Esquire, where it's a real human story about a guy who's trying to hold on to his morals and his beliefs in a society that doesn't agree with him. And it's a tough thing. It's a thing that causes some anxiety, and I really appreciated that.
And you sense his fear and experience his fear throughout the whole movie, and then you experience his sense of peace when he comes to terms with he is who he is, and whatever happens, happens, but he is who he is, and you feel that peace. You feel him lose his fear, and you know you almost don't lose your fear for him. Yeah. But you can sense that he's come to peace with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're rooting for the character the whole time. Yeah. Which is something that you really need in a real human drama, even though it was, I mean, obviously not a true story, but.
Or was it?
But it's a relatable story in a lot of different dimensions. I mean, you can relate to him in the sense that sometimes the way that we feel is not the way that the world feels, and we struggle with that.
He reminded me like I'm like a droid or a robot that was only straight by the book, had no empathy, had no emotions to attach to what he was talking about. It was straight like whatever was programmed in.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, like, was he autistic? Is that what he was supposed to be? Where he was like so focused in on one area that he couldn't.
Yeah, because he had the headphones.
Handle it.
Like, well, I'll clarify. I read an article that he himself had quite a bit of quotes on, and the character itself was not described as an autistic person or someone on the spectrum, but he said that he took a lot of a person that he knows who is on the spectrum, and a lot of their personality and a lot of their characteristics, he sort of portrayed them for this particular character. So
like that accountant. Imagine the same thing too.
Kind of the accountant.
Because his character rang true as being autistic or on the spectrum, and you know, so it makes sense that that's what he was kind of basing his. Yeah.
Even the way he was walking, he turned a certain way.
He had a pattern. Even there's certain scenes where like he's really into Jif peanut butter, and the thing is that it's very subtle, and I really appreciate that because it's not like in your face blowing up or
like the Jif didn't seem subtle.
No, I saw Rose. That was pretty in your face.
He opens a cupboard though, and as he's eating, you see it in the background. He never mentions it. No one ever mentions it at all. They don't talk about it. And to me, I mean that seems like, okay, guys, look, this is part of his character, but we're not going to talk about it. And so that's what I meant by my comment.
Made for the sequel.
Well, I mean, can we really talk about that? We're not talking about other things. So, guys, look, if you're looking to go watch a good film that you're going to enjoy and some leg and arm and soda room, this is the film. You will not be disappointed. It's Oscar-worthy, I feel. His portrayal, at least, his performance. The film, arguably Oscar-worthy, but definitely Denzel deserves to be in the mix and in the group with all of the other nominees for Best Actor, because in this particular film, I didn't see Denzel. I didn't watch Denzel. I watched Roman. And every once in a while, I remind myself, oh, it's Denzel, which is a departure of what he usually does, because we always expect Denzel to be Denzel. And in this particular film, he was not. And that's a good thing for an actor to stretch. You know? So, go check it out.
But I think a lot of his roles, like necessitate Denzel coming out, and this role necessitated not being Denzel.
Yeah.
And I think he's obviously an actor that can go either way when needed.
He's got reach. He can do a lot. It's just, I think they write roles for him and they tell him, Denzel, we wrote this role for you.
Go be you.
Yeah. Take this money and
do what you do.
Do what you do.
He's a producer, executive producer of it. So whenever you get an actor who has a trajectory, who executive produces, he's going to take some chances, and he did, and I think it paid off. So, gentlemen, this has been another edition of 3 Men
and
a Movie.